Awesome. Hi, Lianne. Welcome to the Unicorn Millionaire Podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm just chilling. I'm usually like in the driver's seat, so now I'm just chilling.
Right?
You take control. I love it. My
Hand
fellow
it off
Virgo.
to another Virgo.
Yes, you already know the vibes.
Well, I got my questions.
I'm ready, baby. I'm ready.
But it's gonna flow. Amazing. And I love you so much. We just got to talking, and I kept telling myself, yo, you need to like hit record because I need to like talk all day, every day about everything.
This is just our energy 24/7 every time we speak.
Yes. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Well, once again, thank you so much for having me. My name is Lianne. I am the creator and host of the Watch Us Thrive podcast. What is the Watch Us Thrive podcast? It's my baby. It's been since January of this year. I started it on my own healing journey. I'm sure we're going to get into that later, but I really just like focusing around taboo topics that people don't really like to talk about. My tagline is, we're going to talk about the shit you don't want to talk about, but it needs to be talked about. And, you know, I've had amazing guests like yourself on my show to share their stories of turning their pain into their power and just different life experiences that we all go through that we don't like to talk about. And I'm trying to create a platform to have those uncomfortable conversations. I'm a mom, I'm a single mom, I'm a full-time student, I'm a virtual assistant, I do all the things. But at the core, like my podcast is my baby, and I'm I just love it so much.
And how easy was it for you to even start a podcast? I feel like a lot of us are out here doing our thing and everybody's like, how do you make it look so easy? I'm like, it's taken a lot of therapy and I invested tens of thousands of dollars in coaching. Like this shit is not easy.
Yes.
So what was your journey like?
I do have a little bit of like an upper hand because I do work as an assistant for my sister, Janice, who is the face of Yo Quiero Dinero, which is an amazing podcast. So I really learned a lot from her, but honestly, like, anyone can start a podcast if they really wanted to. All you need is your phone and the Anchor app. Like, and you know, this is a shameless plug. You know, I am affiliated with them. But honestly, like all you have to do is just press record and start telling your story. It's really not as difficult as people make it seem to be. You know, obviously there's like production and all this stuff that comes with time, but you know, really at the basic, you just need a cell phone and a microphone and a story. That's it.
Yeah, and that's what I did. I've been telling myself for months, for years, people were telling me you should start a podcast, but I had the imposter syndrome saying, no, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve it. I was the one stopping myself at the end of the day. There was no one else to blame for it. But yeah, I literally told my business coach, all right, June 30th is the deadline. And that night, June 30th, I don't like doing things last minute, but with the podcast, I did because I got all of my deals.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly, I think the biggest thing for people is getting out of their own head. And legit, like imposter syndrome is a real thing. We all go through it, no matter what success level you're at. I deal with that bitch on a daily fucking basis. But I do it anyway. And I think that's what really stops us from doing whatever it is that we want to do, is getting out of our own fucking way and just doing it.
Yeah. So I know you're very open about talking about how you're a domestic violence survivor. So can you go ahead and share that journey and the healing, the perpetual healing that's been happening since then?
Yes, absolutely. So like you said, I am a domestic violence survivor. In March of 2021, specifically March 13th, 2021, was the day that my life was almost taken from me from, you know, an abusive ex-boyfriend. And I have the full-blown story on my own podcast for anyone who wants to listen in full detail, the beginning to the end of that entire relationship, that you can definitely check out. But, you know, going through such a traumatic experience like that was, looking back at it now, it's what I needed in order to wake the fuck up. Because I realized, being in different relationships prior to that one, I was really attracting the same type of toxicity within a different partner. And the common denominator, looking back at it now while going through my healing journey, was me. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, it had to be something super traumatic, like my life almost being taken from me, in order for me to have like my rebirth. I feel like I'm in my era of my rebirth. Like there's been so much healing. Yes, like snaps to that, right?
I love it so much. I'm
yes,
dancing in my
yes. And you know, we always talk about this healing journey, and you say all the time, you're never healed, you're healing. And I feel like I'm in like the thick of my healing. There's, you know, moments where I'm out here living my best fucking life and I'm like bad bitch energy and I'm doing all the things, you know what I mean? And then other days I can't even get from my bed to the couch. And that's real life shit. And that's people that all of us experience. But for me, I'm vocal about it. I share the good, bad, and the ugly. And I think a lot of people need to do the same because we all have shit that we've gone through, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's rape, whether it's whatever it is that's your story. We need to talk about it more because it's so much more common than we think.
Yeah, totally. I mean, last night I had a dream about my ex. Like I was literally driving a car.
Me too. He
was in the back seat. Really? Oh
I swear. I swear.
I was like, why the fuck am I having dreams about you? Still.
Let me tell you something. I've been in Florida dog sitting for my sister since the beginning of August. And I was telling my daughter yesterday, like, since I've been in Florida, which is where the domestic violence situation happened, I've been having such weird, vivid dreams about like my ex before my ex, about, you know, the abusive relationship. Like, I don't know what the fuck it is. I feel like because I'm back here where everything happened, it's like all of these deep seated, rooted emotions are just coming back up. I haven't cried, which I'm very proud of. I know tomorrow I'm gonna drive past the complex where I lived because me and my daughter are gonna go to the beach where I used to live, where I love that beach, but we have to pass the complex. And I said, yeah, and it's been about a year and a half since that whole situation happened. And I feel like now, I feel like I'm ready. 2 days ago, I took her, what is that called? Go-kart racing. And we drove past the jail that he was in. Now he's in prison in another area in Florida, but I drove past the jail, excuse me. I drove past the jail that he was in for over a year. And I felt like my body was like getting tight. My heart was racing because like I knew that he was there, even though he's not there physically now, but just knowing that he was sitting there for that entire time, like I just felt all of these emotions come in me. And that's a normal process of the healing process, right? So yeah, me being out here right now, I'm not, I don't want to say re-traumatizing myself, but I'm like putting myself in these situations to see how far my healing has been since everything that happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But your body's still trying to protect you in the prehistoric way. I always talk about the prehistoric brain. We're running away from these saber-toothed tigers 20,000 years ago. Our body still feels like that. Sometimes that's the work of healing, is separating your body from your mind, but also joining the two. It's like a total mind fuck to be like,
it's a total mind fuck.
My thoughts, I have control, but I don't sometimes. I feel like recalm my body down.
What do we say all the time? Healing is very fucking ghetto. Thank you to Ada Rojas from Manifiesto for that amazing fucking quote.
And I'm just like back in DC 5 years ago, I was living the hustle life, working so much for anybody, anything to make money, to make a paycheck. And now that I've been back here and not job searching and just working for myself, my body's still like, wait, you're not all good though. Remember, you were here 5 years ago and you were always stressed out and panicked. This is where I started going on antidepressants. Trump was president. When I was living in DC, I would see the cars that he was in and the VP drive by all the time. And so I totally get that. It's still triggering, even if things have moved on. Your body
isn't that interesting though? Like how, like you just said, things move on and we find ourselves in the same situations, but we have, you know, grown from whatever situation that we dealt with. But anytime you see like familiarity or something that reminds you of a situation, it's like, boom, your body just reacts like you're in that moment again. And that's something that I've realized that I struggle with so much. You know, I was clinically diagnosed with PTSD post-traumatic stress disorder, for those who don't know. And that's something that a lot of trauma survivors have to go through. And I feel like that's probably the hardest part of the healing journey, is not knowing when those triggers are going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, being on my healing journey and going to therapy and working with a life coach and doing the work, I now have tools that are in place when those triggers and traumas show up. But it's so interesting, like how your body just immediately goes back to that fight or flight.
Yeah, for real. But I love how you're talking about all these people that have helped you, because I think as first gen, as kids of immigrants, we're taught that we have to do everything ourselves and hide and suppress it and keep it quiet and put on our happy face. And it's like, no, we can laugh and cry through things, but we need to ask for help.
Yes. Absolutely. I feel like we now, like the millennials and the Gen Zs, are the generation who's starting to break that generational trauma that was passed down from our parents and their parents. Like, you know, me and you, we talk about it all the time. Growing up, therapy was not talked about. Our feelings, no, you're going through some shit, you go through that shit by yourself. You know, what happens in this house stays in this house. You don't talk about your shit to nobody. And that's something that a lot of us in the Latinx community can relate to, and, you know, in any community, but especially communities of color, right? But I feel like now the narrative is shifting, which I think it's so beautiful that we are having these types of conversations that, you know, we've gone through some shit and we don't want to do it alone. We don't know how to do it alone. And it's okay to ask for help. I think that is so fucking powerful. And it's so beautiful that I'm able to show the change from my daughter and her generations to come thereafter. You know what I mean? Because we didn't have that growing up.
No, yeah. My mom never went to therapy. She was like, you should go to therapy. I don't need it. So
do you know how many times I've tried to get my mom to go to therapy? She's like, no, therapy, I don't need that. I'm like, all right, you know what? I gotta just take you for who you are, but bitch, I'm going to therapy.
Right. I'm going to therapy for all my ancestors.
Okay.
My ancestors and the people that are still alive that refuse to go. Like, I'm gonna heal this shit, even if I'm not gonna have kids. The lineage ends with me, but I'm still gonna fucking heal it by healing myself.
I love that. That is so fucking powerful.
And like everything I do for fun, I feel like I'm dedicating it to my 5-year-old self. Like, I'm playful more now because I'm like, my 5-year-old self had a shitty childhood, but like I'm living it up now, showing them that what's possible. And I just hired a writing coach. I'm going to write a book.
Saw that. Congratulations. Yes. That's amazing.
Thank you. And I'm going to dedicate that book, because I'm single. I'm not going to dedicate it to my partner, because I always see everybody dedicating their books to their wives or their husbands. I'll be like, I'm dedicating this book to 5-year-old Charlie.
Yes, snaps to that. Absolutely. Yes. We neglect our child, right?
Yeah.
When we're older, like, and it's crazy. Like, for me, when I think about my childhood, there's like a blank. Like, I can only remember my childhood when I'm watching like home videos, but for some reason, I don't know why, like when people say, oh, what was your childhood like growing up? I'm like, I don't know. I can't really remember. And that's so interesting to me, like why that time in my life I can't remember.
Some things we block out, some things we don't. I just have a very overly vivid memory, or I can still remember different smells bringing back to like, oh yeah, or I remember when The Lion King was showing in movie theaters when we moved to the US. Right? So like every time I listen to like the Lion King soundtrack, I'm like, yes, throw back to when I was like 4.
Yep.
But yeah, so going back to your podcast, you just cranked out episode after episode. So I want to hear like what's been the most rewarding part of starting your podcast.
Oh, honestly, I think it would be meeting so many amazing people. And that's such a cliche answer, like, oh, the community. Yeah, the community is great, right? But honestly, like, I felt so alone in the very beginning stages of my own healing journey. And, you know, going through something so traumatic like what I went through. And it wasn't until I started meeting people and hearing their own stories of what they've gone through to be like, damn, like we really all have a story to tell. And I was saying that to my daughter the other day. We were out to dinner and I love to people watch. And I just look around and I'm like, yo, you know, every single person in this room has a story. it's so interesting. If you really think about it, like, you know, there's people walking around depressed, there's people walking around happy, there's people walking around all these different things, but they all have a story to tell. And I think that's so fucking interesting. How different it is, whatever it is that you've gone through, it's just so interesting to hear other people's stories, what they've gone through, and how they're able to overcome the trials and tribulations that they've experienced. So I think that's the most rewarding part.
Yeah, and your podcast has been a tool, as you said, a tool for healing. We're healing and we're bringing people along with us. It's not perfect, but if we don't talk about these things, then
we're never going to know. Exactly. I say I'm trying to be the Latina Dr. Phil, okay?
Yes.
That is the goal.
I'll be on your show. For some reason, I was like, I'll be your like sexy non-binary weather reporter.
Yes. I'm so here for it. Yes, please.
Working upside down and shit.
You better twerk upside down. That is a must. I love it.
And what's been the most challenging part of your podcast?
I would say, honestly, like social media, showing up for social media is so fucking difficult.
Really?
And
at first, so easy.
I make it look so easy. I know it looks easy, but honestly, like there's so many thoughts that are living inside of this Virgo brain, and you understand completely what I'm talking about. Like, we are overthinkers. And you know, with the algorithm and the reels and all the shit, is like wanting to show up perfect, and you know, that shit has been so difficult for me to like get out of my way of trying to be perfect and trying to show up as like, you know, I got my shit together. I think that's really the hardest thing for me. I have to go battle with my mind every single day of like, it's okay, you can talk about this, you can show up, you can say this, you know, people are not going to judge you. That like internal battle that I deal with on a daily basis, that's the hardest thing for me, but I do it anyway. Right. I think that's the difference. I push through it no matter how uncomfortable it is, and I do it anyway. And I take breaks if I need to.
Yeah, and I try to think about the people I'm trying to help, and like some people will judge you, but those are not my people in the first place.
Exactly.
I feel like a lot of new business owners or people trying to promote themselves online are always worried about what like their cousins will think, or the people that they're not actually trying to reach and talk to, what they're going to think.
Yep.
So stop trying to convince those people to like you, and keep focusing on the people that are there for you and do show up for you.
Fuck the haters.
Yeah, like I've lost friends that I thought would support me as a business owner because we're doing the thing that they want to do, but they're too scared to do it. It's just wild.
That's something about them that they need to work through with their own trauma. And that's something that I've realized too. Like, that's their problem and it's not my problem to fix.
Yeah, seriously. So it's just a whole lot of stuff. But once you start and get the feedback and meet all these cool people, then it gets so much easier.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think you were collabing with like BetterHelp or somebody too. I think that's exciting because a lot of people think, oh, start a podcast, that's a hobby, but you can actually make money and collab with other brands, which I think should be talked about, because I'm trying to monetize this podcast. Not today. I love what I do and I would do it for free, but I'm not going to do it free forever.
Yes.
And one day I'd like to monetize it. Same with the blog. That's why I took Denise's blogging course, because I'm trying to get that 10K passive income that she gets.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And diversify. So what's been that process like of collabing? Do you reach out to people? They reach out to you? Like, what is that all like?
Yeah, honestly, I'm still in the very like early stages of making money off of my podcast. But like I said, working with my sister and seeing like the brand deals and, you know, affiliate marketing and all of those things, there's so many ways that you can make money with a podcast. Like right now, the only way that I'm making money is through ads with Anchor. Like I pre-recorded an ad and that plays with every single episode. And yeah, like you said, I do have a sponsorship with BetterHelp. So I reached out to them. I sent an email. I shot my shot. And the crazy thing is, when I first started this podcast back in January, I emailed them and I was like, hey, I have this mental health podcast and I would love to, you know, have a brand partnership with you. Sent the email and it was fucking crickets. like nothing. And I was like, okay, you know, the podcast just started, it's brand new, let me just wait a few months.
Yeah.
And then in April I said, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna try again. And lo and behold, they reached out to me. I met with someone who works there, and we had a Zoom meeting like this, and I explained to her what my podcast was about. She loved it. And yeah, now I have a sponsorship with BetterHelp. So I think that's the hardest thing for people. It's just like shooting your shot and just putting yourself out there. And like I said earlier, that's something that I struggle with. That's something that's hard for me. But you got to just do it anyway. You know, you got, if you really want to take it seriously and you really want to build a business, you have to put yourself out there, no matter how uncomfortable it is. But yeah.
Yeah, that's what I learned as a money coach. It was so weird for me to go online and be like, I'm Charlie and I'm a money coach, and say that over and over. And now it's like so natural. It's like, duh, I'm the money coach.
Yes, the money coach.
I have arrived.
Yes. Hello.
But that part is the hardest, is to start doing that, and then making offers as well as a coach continually when I make posts and stuff. My business coach is like, how many offers do you make a month? And I was like, I don't know, 1 or 2. I don't want to be annoying. And she's like, no, people sign up to be bothered. They want you to help them.
Yes.
And so after every post, every podcast, I remind people of what I do, because you never know, somebody might be a first time listener, and that's how I introduce myself and what I do. And here's my offer. And I'll also, on my stories every now and then, I've already been on like 6 podcasts or something this year.
Yes.
Yeah. Just by saying, hi, I'm Charlie and I love being on podcasts.
There you go.
Get me to have me on your podcast.
Yes.
Like, it's not like these podcasts came out of the sky. Like, I had to put myself out there and tell people over and over and over again that I want to be on a podcast. I think that's the same approach that it would take for partnering with another business, like a business partnership. If they don't hear back the first time, like, try again. You don't lose anything.
And what's the worst that can happen? They say no. Okay. It's cliche as fuck, but like when one door closes, 10 more fucking open, you know, but I would rather have that no in, you know, my belt, instead of having like, damn, what if I never want to live in a life of regret of like, damn, I should have done that. No, I did it, and it either worked or it didn't, but at least I tried and I put myself out there.
Amen. Because I'm not trying to be on my deathbed being like, oh, I should have done the thing. When I look back, I'll be like, damn, I did all the things.
Yes, period. I did all the things, and some failed and some didn't, and that's okay.
Yeah, but at least I tried. Because then once we put ourselves out there, then other people see that in us, and they're like, oh, well, if this person's doing it, I can too. Like, that's why I started podcasts. Because I remember even when Janice was starting her podcast and still hadn't hired anybody, she had the whole like, you should start a podcast with Anchor. And I kept that in my head for like years. And then when I started it, I was like, oh yeah, this really was simple. I waited too long. That's the only regret, is waiting too long when I start anything. Right?
Same. And I think that's everyone's biggest regret. Like, once you actually do it, it's like, damn, what was I waiting for so long? It's our fucking minds. Get out of your own way, people.
Yeah, we don't have to wait, and learning as we go is important. But it's like with that CPTSD, with the childhood trauma, sometimes we do want to make the best decision, and we want a lot of time to think about things, because we grew up not having time to think about anything, and just like life kept hitting us right and left. So I understand that, but yeah, 100%. If you don't take action, you won't know.
You'll never know. And then you're going to be old and wrinkly and sad and depressed. And nobody wants to live that kind of life.
Yeah. And what's been the biggest mindset shift that you've made on your healing journey?
Taking accountability. Taking accountability and actually realizing that, bitch, you were the problem. I think that has been the biggest thing for me, because for, you know, I'm going to be 34 this year. So like for 32 and a half years of my life, I lived in victim land. Everyone else was the problem, you know, and I never sat in my shit and be like, ooh, maybe it's not everyone else. Maybe it is you who has some shit that you need to work on. And I think it's a hard fucking pill to swallow, but it has been so transformational for me to really accept my shit, accept my flaws, and like, yo, I got a lot of shit about me that I need to work on, that I'm still working on, but owning it and sitting in it and feeling it and not burying it and, putting a voice to it and a name to it and a face, that has been super powerful for me. But it's hard. It's fucking hard looking in the mirror and be like, bitch, you're your biggest problem.
Yeah.
You are the common denominator in the situations that happen in your life, not just relationships, work, family, friendships, all the things. You are the common denominator. And if you want to live a different life, maybe there's something about you that you need to fix before anyone else.
As you're saying all this, I'm like, yep, this is why I've had the romantic partners I've had in my life.
Hello.
I attract the same type of people and I got frustrated and it does not end well.
Yeah.
And that's something to process too when relationships end. It's not like game over, next one. I'm very big on, okay, that was fucked up. It's ended. Now we need to process everything for months in therapy. So that
and listen, and this is the first time that I've done that. Like I used to be that type of person that'd be like, okay, ended, next one, hop to the next relationship, hop to the next situationship, sleep with the next person. And that wasn't serving me. That was only hurting me even more and masking my pain, trying to use someone else when I needed to be like, yo, this fucking hurt. This was painful. This sucked. Now what am I going to do? And this is the first time in my life that I've truly been like single, nothing, no distractions, just me. And I feel like this is why I've changed so much, because I haven't used anyone else as a distraction.
And that's what I feel like a lot of people do that. Like, and society doesn't make it easier. Like I just finished the second season of Indian Matchmaking. I don't know if you've watched it.
What is that?
It's a show about Indian matchmaker, because marriage is a big industry in India and they have arranged marriages.
Yes.
And everything is very interesting because she also travels to the US and matches up American Indian people with each other and stuff. And they do long distance, but I forgot where I was going with that, but there were a lot of like, of course there's no non-binary people. That show is hetero as fuck because they keep talking about, my height requirements. I'm like, bitch, queer people don't give a fuck about your height. We want to know it. Like, do you want to fuck us? And what's going on in your brain? Like,
yes.
I don't fuck if you're taller or shorter than me.
Yes, absolutely.
Of my problem.
I love it.
But I kept seeing so many women who were like in their mid or older 30s and they had it going on. I was like, I would definitely date you, but they're like the independent ones. They make all their money and have it going on. And they're like, well, I guess I should want a partner because all my other friends are happily married. And I guess like my life is awesome. I guess it would be nice to share it with somebody. And I can tell that that's me sometimes where I'm like, my life is good. It's awesome. But I guess because everybody else is doing it, or because I should be married at this point. Sometimes I thought like, I guess I should be married if I'm 31, but I'm like, I haven't even found anybody close to wanting to marry.
Yes.
No.
Absolutely. And the older that we get, like we're in our 30s, the more that pressure from society is put on us, right? Like, oh my God, you're 34 and you're still single. You're still living at home. It's like, yeah, bitch, I'm figuring life the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like, let's normalize that. Let's normalize not having our shit together and still figuring it out and, taking it day by day. Like this fucking pressure that society puts on us, like, oh, you need to be, have a 5-bedroom house and a husband and a white picket fence and all this shit by the time you're like 25. It's like, bitch, what? No, that's toxic as fuck. And that's not the reality. With inflation, I don't know who the fuck can afford anything right now, okay?
You're speaking my language.
Okay. Have you seen those gas prices?
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I just feel like I'm processing so much from my last relationship, which I talked about in your podcast. And I was like so in love, but it was like a 3-month relationship and so much went on where I was like, oh yeah, it's going great. And then I was like, oh wait, it's not. And then I feel like I'm processing it afterward and processing my past relationships. And I think society throws around like, oh, red flags, or this person's a narcissist. But then I realized there are different types of narcissists. Because in the first place, which I'm like, why didn't nobody tell me there's different types of narcissists? Because we all think they're the charismatic ones with lots of friends, but it's also like there's the vulnerable narcissists who have no friends and make themselves the victim. And my Virgo wants to like fix people.
Yes, that was me in my last relationship. Yes, we always want to fix someone. Bitch, you need to fix yourself.
I know. But then I'm like, but what's the point of a relationship if I can't fix you? Which is also fucked up.
It's so, oh my God, it's so fucking exhausting being a human being. No, but it's true. And this is why, like, I love having these type of conversations, because when we think these thoughts, we think we're the only one thinking it. But clearly you can see with you and me, we are feeling the same things. We're having the same thoughts. We're going through the same motions, and we need to normalize feeling this way because so many of us feel the same fucking way. So no, you're not alone. You're not crazy. We're all going through some shit, but we're talking about it.
And in therapy, I've talked about what I want from a relationship and what I don't want. And I think that's really clear. So what are some things that you do and don't want in your next relationship?
Oh, that's a heavy question. I have this, I don't want to say fear, but I kind of want to say fear. Like, honestly, I'm going to be totally like transparent. I'm terrified to start dating again because of what I experienced.
Yeah.
You know, going through something like that, like there's a part of my brain that I feel like still doesn't trust me in potentially picking someone like I did in the past. Even, you know, with the healing that I've gone through and being this different person, there's still a part of me that I still need to work through that's like, damn, I feel like I might attract the same person again and I might go through the same situations, you know, and that's real shit. But what I know that I want now is the complete opposite of what I've done for the first 32 something years of my life, right? You know, I definitely want someone who is vocal, who knows how to express themselves. And if, you know, they're going through some shit, they're working through it, you know, maybe with therapy or a coach or something. Definitely want someone loving, someone who just treats me like the fucking queen that I know that I am. Yeah. You know? And I don't want to continue to attract the type of man that needed to be fixed. Like, even before the relationship that I was in an 8.5 year terrible relationship that another podcast episode you guys can listen to. I talked all about that. But it was the same type of toxicity. Like, I always picked these broken men who had mommy issues or daddy issues or just a fucked up childhood. And I felt like I wanted to be Captain Save-A-Ho, you know, and just fix them. Like, I don't want a project. I want someone like, you don't have to have your shit all the way together, because I don't think anyone does, but I'm not here to save you. Like, I'm me. I am my biggest priority, and you're gonna add to my life. And if you're gonna just come with drama and bullshit, like, I'm not dealing with it. I'd rather be alone than be in bad company.
Yeah, seriously. It's just what I say to like most of my exes when I'm breaking up with them. They're like, oh, but you're gonna be alone. These same problems are going to happen in your next relationships. But I'm like, I love myself, and I'd rather be with myself than be again in bad company. And I think people are not used to that way of thinking, because
that is so new for me. That is so new for me. I was the type of person, like, I've been in a relationship since I was 14 years old. I'm going to be 34 this year. So that's 20 years of men in my life. And like I said before, this is the first time in my life that I've been single. Like, I've been single since March of 2021. Single, celibate, like nothing. Yeah. And it's so new to me, but it's been so fucking rewarding because I've had no distraction. I've only had me. And it's still something that I'm getting used to, but now I'm at such peace. I don't even think I want anyone in my life. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, relationships are work. It's a lot of fucking work. And the relationship that I'm trying to fix is the one that I've had with myself. And that's the one that I've had for 30 something years. And that's the one that needs to be the biggest priority in my life right now. And that's what I'm focused on. Later on down the line, you know, whatever happens, happens. But right now I'm so focused on me. I don't have time to be thinking about anybody else.
I got all the time in the world. That's why I'm writing a fucking book.
Yes. Absolutely. I love that for you. I fucking love that for you.
Time is not an issue, which I think is a whole other relationship breakthrough I'm having with time, because I feel like other people always complain about how they don't have enough time, like there's not enough time in the day. And I'm like, bitch, my day is overflowing with time. I'm crafting at like 10 a.m. because
I'm so here for your paintings. I love them. We have to get together one day and have a paint session.
Yes. Oh my God. That could be on the Latina Dr. Phil show.
Absolutely.
Well, so. But part of me was like, Charlie, you're not like an actual adult because you don't hate, like you don't complain about how little time you have. So I made it a thing where my relationship with time was unhealthy, because it was like being in a relationship with that, which I've never had, but I hear is a thing, that complacent, stable, supportive, humble partner that's there and loves you unconditionally. And it's like, no, I want to spice shit up. Like, I need to hate you for me to appreciate you.
How toxic is that?
Yeah.
I think we're all a little bit toxic. We all have some toxic tendencies, but it's fine.
Yeah. But it's like, this literally the life I've created for myself. I just didn't, my goal of financial freedom wasn't to have time freedom, but that's just been a byproduct that has occurred from all this. Like, I wanted more money so I could travel and stuff, but I really haven't traveled this much this summer because all these flights are getting canceled to Europe and stuff. So I'm like, I'll watch your dog when you're out having your hot girl summer. I'm gonna have my hot queer fall.
Yes. I'm here for the hot queer fall. Yes. It's a little hot outside right now. I don't like sweating, okay? So I'll wait till fall.
To twerk on an ATM.
There you go. Upside down. I love you, Charlie. I love you so much.
Oh, I love you too. So relationships aren't just romantic. We have relationships with a lot of things, and relationships with money too, which again is another thing where people think, oh, it's so easy to have it going on. But I coach myself every day on my money trauma. It's not gone. I have to create that sense of safety for myself daily. And when I look at my stocks go up 2K in a day or 5K down in a day, and I still have to be like, this has nothing to do with your value.
Yep. Absolutely.
And so much of that translates to like the relationship with time that I'm currently like, as of 3 days ago, when I hired my writing coach, I started feeling grateful for time in order to do this, because I thought it was something I have to do, including the painting and the writing, all these creative dreams I had this idea that, oh, I'll wait when I'm 70 and have my shit together and have time. And it's like, nah, bitch, you actually have all this time now.
Yes.
So
can I ask you a question? Even though I know this
for sure, Virgo.
Yes, it's always going here. So like, what was it for you that made you want to write a book? Like that's so like, oh, I love that. What was it for you?
I mean, people have said this to me since I started blogging in my 20s, when I just had a free travel blog. People are like, you're such a good writer. And I've never had formal writing training in college. My professors were like, you need a writing tutor. But I think on the creative writing side, I love talking about my journey. And I think I'm just so transparent that people have continuously been like, you should start a podcast. I'm like, check. And then you should start a book. And then I think hearing Denise casually drop that, she was like, on a blogging call, Denise was like, my writing coach says, and I was like, oh my God, it should be normal for us to just drop that we have a writing coach and we're writing books. Like, it's a normal thing. But I'm literally like telling you this because I'm seeing somebody else who I admire do this, and I see myself in her. And that's what I'm like, okay, stop wasting time. Like, this is going to be something productive for you to do with your time.
Yeah.
Because you're single, but you're not like actively trying to date. Like, I'm on the apps and stuff, but I go months or years without dating as well. Yeah. I'm picky as fuck.
Yes. Hello, Virgo.
Yeah. Especially with the shitty relationship situations I put myself in. I'm like, good thing I have been a little picky. If not, I don't know where I'd be right now.
Yes. In a whole world of shit.
Yeah. But the other reason I started the writing journey was because I picked up a book that my straight friends was like, you should read this book. It has a non-binary character. in it, and I was cat sitting for her, and I was like, what? Straight people read about non-binary people too? Because like I have to explain myself a lot to people online and in person. I'm like, oh, cool, you know about this and you're reading about somebody that's not just like you.
Right.
It shouldn't be so mind-blowing for me to think that, but because of my lived experience, it is like, oh, people care about us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And want to read about our experiences.
Yeah.
And for the first time at 31, I was reading, even though it's fiction, a book about a non-binary person as an object of romantic desire and interest, and seeing their pronouns, they, them, over again throughout the entire book. I was like, okay, I'm not asking too much.
Yes.
By having my pronouns, like it's normalized. And then I read another similar book by another white non-binary author, and I don't know why, but both the theme of both books was like a cooking show. I was like, I don't know why the fuck they're both in a cooking show. Like my life is more exciting than a cooking show.
Right.
I want to write about like Persepolis style, like the graphic novel style, because I do my art and write about my experience and document it, and not being close to biological family and being a digital nomad and being Latinx. Like I'm white, but I thank God every day that I have culture and I know dance and I can speak Spanish.
Yes, got that sazon, okay?
Yes. Like I need to write about this because I cannot be the only person that feels like my culture is still not reflected. But I saw myself enough in that identity to want to write a book and start this process.
I'm so here for that. I cannot wait. I'm so excited to watch that journey unfold. Shout out to you for, doing the scary shit, putting yourself out there and just saying, fuck it, I'm gonna fucking do it. I don't see it, so I'm gonna create it.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yes, that's it. I love it. I'm so here for you.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see a space for somebody like me, so I'm gonna create it. It's that simple. Instead of
create your own motherfucking seat at the table.
Yeah, because like I would follow a lot of people. I feel like there's a lot of like the people online who are like, oh, we're traumatized, capitalism is racist and we're poor. And it's like, all right, we're traumatized, but then what? And that's why I love Janice's podcast, because for the first time I was like, all right, yeah, we're traumatized, but Janice is actually doing something about it.
Yes.
Just by
Absolutely.
And I know there's a lot of the haters out there that are like, why are you talking about money? Stop fixating on money. It's like, it's because we're like marginalized, because money is the driving force for the world. We inherited capitalism, not by choice.
If you ain't got money, you're going to be struggling. That's all I know.
That's why financial abuse is a thing as well. That's why women can't leave some domestic violence situations, because the men have the money.
Absolutely. There was a statistic that I saw, after being a survivor and, just going down this rabbit hole of what is domestic violence, 99% of victims of DV are financially abused, like 99%. It's so much more common than we think. And before, me experiencing what I went through, I didn't even know financial abuse was a thing. Like, what the fuck is that? But it's so common, but we don't talk about it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and I saw that working in finance as well. Like the women would go through the divorce and they trusted the men to manage everything because the man knows everything. And also the men did not know what the fuck was going on.
They don't know shit.
That's why they called us more than the women to be like, what do I do?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I saw so many things like men leaving their millions of dollars to like their mistresses instead of their wives, like all types of shady ass shit. I'm like, you don't know who you married until you get divorced.
Okay, please say that again. Don't get me started.
So yeah, that's the thing. Like, protect your finances, learn as much as you can, and don't depend on anybody else for anything.
Never. And that's definitely something that I experienced with my last relationship. Like, I depended on him, for a lot of the finances when we were living together. And when that relationship ended, I was like, oh fuck, like, what the fuck now? And I never want to find myself in that situation ever again. And it's something that a lot of women especially deal with. So please be independent, have your own money, and never fucking depend on somebody's dusty ass son when it comes to finances.
Or daughter, or not.
Or crusty ass daughter, okay?
Non-binary people can be crusty too.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
Oh my God, I can't. This has been so great. I just laugh and smile so much when I talk to you. I can talk for
I
hours.
adore you. I can talk to you for hours. I love you so much.
I love you too. Is there anything you want to leave listeners with? Any gems of advice? Anything you want to promote?
Yeah, I mean, well, you guys can follow me on Instagram at Watch Us Thrive Podcast. My podcast is everywhere: Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, all the things. iHeartRadio, Watch Us Thrive Podcast. You can listen to a brand new episode every Tuesday at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And sometimes I drop a bonus episode on Fridays, but I haven't done that recently. And yeah, just continue coming on this journey with me. I have such amazing guests coming up, and my own journey of things that I'm going to be going through in the future that I will talk about eventually. I'm just really excited to see where life is going to take me, and I invite you guys to follow me on the journey to healing and loving yourself and talking about mental health and just normalizing these uncomfortable conversations. So thank you for having me, Charlie.
Yes, I love you. It's a no-brainer to follow you. Everybody should be following
Absolutely.
you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.